Welcome to my stream. So today's topic, as you hopefully know, is LcZero versus Stockfish. All the crushing wins for both players from current TCEC championship. There's actually one more game in progress, and both engines agree that white has big advantage, 1.5 in white's favor. So maybe when I finish with my stream, I would have immediately more work to do. But all kidding aside, a little preview. What's going on? Stockfish and LcZero, two currently best engines in the world, are fighting each other in the Superfinal on a very powerful machines. So the speed of Stockfish in an opening is like enormous. It's 150 million nodes per second. This is 150 million positions, nodes, moves half moves per second. So when it makes a move, it's like it considers, let me see, hundreds, like billions and not billions, wait a second, 150 millions. It considers how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, tens of billions positions per second. Hello, Mark. Good evening to you too. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat, by the way. I'll try to address all of them. All right, so far the score after 17 games, let me check, yes, 17 games is a tie. So it seems it's not fun. No, there was a lot of fun going on in this match. So I'm not gonna go in chronological order. I would start with the most recent defeat by LcZero. And then we go chronologically, and then I finish with the game that maybe some of you found on my Facebook page, where I ask a question: why Stockfish? Why did it play a weird move in French and collapsed several moves later? I would try to give my best explanation of that phenomena. So here we go. Current EC position is very interesting too. Yep, Lila has advantage in game 18. I agree. I totally agree. Although, before we go any further, let me show you the game that it lost. I think it was today. Yes, it was today. So they were forced to play this position, only 3 moves, and Stockfish couldn't beat LcZero with white in this position. And then this was game 16. Switching colors, and now LcZero has white. So let's see, how can such a strong engine lose to a weird Pirk, right? So I'm not gonna go into any detail, but well, I will, but not in the opening phase. All I'm gonna address this is that I was playing Pirk for quite some time in my life, and I did some analysis of Pirk using modern engines, and I always assumed that this rook takes h3 doesn't bring any advantage to white. The engine doesn't give a big evaluation. When I say the engine, I mean Stockfish, right? So and rook on h3 is weird. So I always knew that if knight goes to h3, black just takes and black is fine because rook on h3 is weirdly placed. But LcZero gives 0.83 or something to white here, saying white has the center, white has 2 bishops, white is better. So, and it makes these weird looking moves like queen e2, queen c8, so black is preparing c5. This is almost the only counterplay black can get to open up this bishop. So castle, king b1, b5, dragon style. Now knight goes to the center, dc5, and after capture, suddenly all white's pieces are in the place. Rook on h3, where it belongs, because it's gonna go to the e-file. Stockfish, by the way, gives zeros here at depth 43. That is amazing. It gives zeros. I'm gonna run my Stockfish for a second, which is embarrassingly weaker than the one in the TCEC championship, but it gives somewhere about zeros. So, and the most current version of Stockfish on a very powerful machine gave zeros here or maybe in this position, right? But LcZero gives 0.8 again. And it's understandable because white puts pressure on the pawn on e7. Black, after a few moves, let me see white. Well, so black has no counterplay because pushing b4 is close to impossible, right? White's rooks are amazingly strong. The pawn on e7 needs protection. There's one weakness, and the king, as was always the case with different colored different castles, the king is in potential trouble. So white slowly is improving the position. Lila likes repetition, as you may have learned from my previous streams, and white is slowly improving its position. C3 to make sure there's no counterplay, and now LcZero slowly preparing the breakthrough with f4 and f5. So now both engines agreed, let me be precise for a second now. Stockfish already understood that this is a big problem. Not a big, 0.3 according to Stockfish, but from human point of view, I would call this position not strategically lost, but strategically horrible position. Because a5, b4 would just lose, because black will not have enough pieces to attack, and white would eventually push f4, f5, create more and more weaknesses and win. So Stockfish decides to break through. And now what shocked me a lot was the difference in the evaluation. So let me see. So white is still pressing, but black at least opened up some files. So they go to this position. White, again, with every move, white is slowly improving. So first the bishop has nothing to do on the diagonal anymore. Bishop is going to c2, to d3, and now takes. So this position was very interesting to watch, because the evaluation of LcZero 1.7, it gave, you may wonder how did it manage to lose this one, 35% for a win and 65% for a draw. And Stockfish was giving zeros, totally a draw. And I was like, hold on a second, who's right? They cannot be both right. So from human point of view, this is what's gonna happen. So these are a great example of extremely misleading zeros from Stockfish. This is not zeros. White is pressing for free. Check it out. White puts the rook on e5. So Lila makes lots of weird repetition. Black has zero active play because pawn on e6 needs protection. Pawn on a4, black should always keep in mind that the queen can penetrate. White has risk-free advantage, and white does have a... So here I'm just gonna do this. I'm not gonna annotate on this one. So f4. So I was discussing this position with my friend, and I was like, okay, how can white try to win this one? It seems unbreakable. So white has several active ideas, moving the queen and attacking this pawn and this pawn at the same time, but then the pawn on f4 would be weak. So what I suggested was to push f5 at the appropriate moment. This is exactly what happened later. f5. All right, it makes sense, because with e-pawn it's never possible. G, now we have a strong protected passed pawn, and I suggested like maybe moving the king to here to block and then move the queen to the queen side. I do not know, but Stockfish still gives zeros and LcZero still gives huge advantage. So what LcZero is great at understanding is a human evaluation of the position. This is not a winning advantage because LcZero couldn't convert it. And Stockfish managed to hold it, but how did it lose? So it's still, I recall some LcZero's losses from a few years back when it only appeared. It lost better positions because it kept pushing and giving up pawns in order to create chances for a win, and then LcZero blundered. So so it's not very good in blitz. Stockfish is really good in blitz. So if they were playing Blitz Championship, I would say Stockfish would score like 100%, or like huge percentage. That would be my guess. And in my previous stream, I discussed that I think neural networks are very similar to human beings. They evaluate the positions better. This is not zeros. White is playing for a win, especially this one. They can play fantastic positional chess, and they can blunder. So here's what happened. But the following decision, so Lila is trying something, but Stockfish is holding it really well, 100 moves, more than 100 moves, and now LcZero does something incomprehensible from human point of view. You give up the pawn, this is playing for a loss, this is not playing for a win. It's still kept, and now rook to e2. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. From Stockfish's point of view, this is still zeros, but from human point of view, this is already playing to lose. And that's exactly what happened. At some point, let me run my poor Stockfish here to see where it blundered. So this Stockfish, of course, prefers black, because now black has 2 extra pawns. But I think that Stockfish from the championship, it was still giving zeros because it found ways for white to hold this position. But it's obvious that now it's only white is who's holding the position. So g6 does not make any sense whatsoever, neither from engine nor from human point of view. So I cannot explain this one. This is one of the bugs of neural networks. I'm not sure if I may generalize. It could be considered offensive to other engines. Stockfish is still giving zeros here at depth 55. So this is still about equal position. For example, now I think it's capture was the way to make a draw, and now check, and now another check. Black is playing for a win, but white can handle because all dark squares are weak. White can make a draw here, but LcZero played this move. Just horrible. Oh my god, who plays rook h2? It's ridiculous. Maybe white wanted an open file to introduce two rooks into the deck. I don't think, yeah, maybe if it was a human being. But no human being would ever play rook h2 if you can take a pawn on e6. This doesn't make sense whatsoever. And eventually Stockfish converted the two extra pawns. It took some time because LcZero is quite stubborn. And no progress without the king. And yeah, two queens were on the board. But everything, this is completely losing, and Stockfish converted the advantage eventually. And finally here, it decided to resign. So I find this game very human from one perspective. White liked his position all the game and kept playing for a win when the advantage was not there anymore, and then a blunder at the end. But on the other hand, this is not human because no human on earth would play rook h2. Where is that position? Rook h2, this is ridiculous. This is like, and that's it. After that, the game is lost. So that's why I'm saying that LcZero, in my mind, is in the lead of Stockfish, because to be fair, white should not have lost this game. But to Stockfish's credit, it defended really well. And that's about it. So even though this game happened, they are tied. Currently, let me see the progress in the current. Okay, 1.7 is the evaluation. White is making progress. So I've seen 1.7 just now. How LcZero can lose this one? The position that is currently there, you can go to TCEC / I'm not sure, like this one, chess.com, and you can see the position, but you can do it later after my stream. So LcZero has big chance to be in the lead again today, but this game was, well, come on, losing this one does not make sense. And now we're gonna go in chronological order. So in my previous streams, I addressed that I have concerns with this line, because this is like huge advantage for white. Here a3 looks weird, but in b5 is gonna happen anyway, and white needs to address b4, so a3 in advance. I'm not sure what to say here. They both won in a good fashion with white. Will I bring the current position from game 18 later? We'll see. If the game would still be in progress, I will at the end. Thank you, Sam. So black's position is just bad. So just to explain why I think that, what is the most popular opening these days? It's Najdorf, right? Why do they play a6 here? a6 is a useful move, and g4 is still being stopped. And one of the main moves for white here is h3. And black is facing some problems in this line. This is how badly white wants to play g4. Black played very useful move a6, and white spends h3, and then white would have lose another tempo to h4. And in one of the recent games, I think Magnus even played in this, rook to g1. This is how badly white wants to play g4, to play this ridiculous looking move, rook g1. That is why I have issue with the choice of this line. I think nobody in a professional world, I mean grandmaster, even title player level, are interested in this line. This is considered bad. So, but maybe they are not doing it for professionals, it's just for people from all openings, so that they can get their fair share. So white's play is extraordinarily easy. The pawn a3 basically stopped almost all the counterplay on the queen side. White is pushing on the king side. f4, even short castle, doubling the rooks. What I like about Stockfish, it always converts the advantage in a very straightforward fashion, mostly, that I can comprehend. So bishop, and now white prepares so knight a2 is weird. I do not understand this move. Knight a2 stopping b4 and after a5 coming back. This is beyond my understanding. I think a5 was a useful move, but rook b8 b4, and white apparently created another weakness on b5, which is quite it's in some lines it's typical, but not in the Scheveningen one. That's new for me. And now white pushes on the king side. Now white pushes, and now all the pieces slowly penetrate with every move. Check it out. I love it. Just push, push, forward. All forward moves white is attacking in extraordinary fashion, threatening mate, taking that one, and now very technical. Okay, the queen is trapped, so you don't have that much choice, and now very technical pawn ending, and black doesn't have time to create a passed pawn here because white would go c4, and if you take, the pawn promotes and the king is in the square. And so black doesn't have time to create a passed pawn, so black just loses here. White slowly comes to d3 and push c4, and then not c5, by the way, for the record. This is what I want to address here. Let me see. Just don't push c5 because that would be a fortress. You just take it and push the pawn and then you win. I wonder if Stockfish would give zeros here. Yes, Stockfish understands that this is the king cannot penetrate, but of course this would never happen. What shocked me also, maybe some of you can help who has more knowledge in neural networks, why on earth would Leela evaluate this pawn ending, which is of course completely winning for white. Stockfish already gave like mate in 41 or something, mate in 40. It gave 50-50 chance for white. I don't get it. This is like 50-50. What if white pushes c5? Like white flips a coin and then makes a mistake, 50% of chance. I don't understand this 50-50. And the evaluation is 2.8. Way too little in my view. 1.7 it lost, 2.8, so I do not understand this one. All right, so you have some questions. Is this a Keras attack? I think so. I'm not very good with the names of the opening, but yes. They added this opening because they were afraid there would be too many draws at the final. I guess they didn't need to worry about that. Ah, yeah, okay, so at least they would get 1-1 each, most likely. Okay, maybe I can relate to that one, so that if all draws, people wouldn't watch it. Okay, that's a reasonable explanation. Thank you, LcZero. All right. Well, 2.8 is not 50-50. That's what I see. I go to TCEC to that game, and after king e2, 42 move king e2, it gives 50.2 for a win and 49.8 for a draw, and the evaluation, at least in the transmission, is 2.86. So I don't know, but it's not 50-50, it's 100%. Stockfish, of course, already sees mate, so nothing to discuss here. All right, so that was it. And now they switch colors, and LcZero does also a great job. Similar, so they both agree bishop e3, a3 is a great way to stop the attack. And now Leela still plays rook g1, which I find a little bit weird. And now it plays rook to g3. So this is a very weird, unusual maneuver that I find it very difficult to explain. I would do something else. I would push f5 or move the queen or castle. So white, they both agree this is huge advantage for white because it's really, really difficult for black to create any counterplay. And TCEC win percentage reported is outdated and based on an old centi-pawn formula. Leela 2.2 evaluation is more than 50%. Okay. Yeah, but I think the percentage is given by Leela, so it was still giving 50-50%. The Leela is not giving the evaluation, it's giving the percentage as far as I know. So, and they transposed it to 2. But this, I'm having concerns not with 2.86 number, I'm having concerns with 50-50. This is not 50-50. All right, so white is just dominating. d5 square is weak, king side full control, long castle, so a typical sacrifice, but black didn't even finish the development, and white slowly opens files for the rooks. All files got opened. That's what you're supposed to be doing if you have rooks. Now you push the pawn, giving up an exchange. Well, that's showing off, I would say. and slowly white is improving the position. So this one I like. The rook is being improved, the bishop is being improved, this bishop is improved, now you take. So Stockfish is desperately trying something. h3 is showing off again, I think. Now king goes. Really not much to discuss. This is completely winning position, and Lila is converting it not in the best fashion, which is often the case, but 2 pawns up. Let's just go. It's just nothing to talk about here. So just a bad opening, and Lila, this is ridiculous. So I have concerns with Lila converting advantage. All right, so I don't want to commentate this. White is winning whatever happens. So these were the 2 first wins of the match. Let's move on to the next one. All right. This one is I find it quite fascinating. So, and it's good that you don't see my variation behind my here. All right. So, hold on, you wrote something. Lila does report centipawn to CEC, but TCEC uses the wrong formula to calculate that backwards to win percentage. Okay, thank you for clarification. 2.86 is about 93% win. Okay, 93. Okay, 93 sounds more reasonable. It still should be 100 in my view, but okay. How much is 1.7? It gave 1.7 to a fortress-looking position that it couldn't break and lost. And I'm guessing it evaluated chances of loss as 0. So, yeah, okay. So, moving on. Moving on to this one. So they were forced to play this weird line. This position was forced. And LcZero, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. LcZero could not win this one with white and lost this one with black. This is something I addressed previously in one of my streams, that I think Stockfish is better at open dynamic chess and LcZero is better at closed positions, pawn chains. And you would see a few defeats by LcZero when there are pawn chains, and you would see how strong Stockfish is in open positions like this one. So this is just weirdest position on earth. White is full rook up, but that knight would be trapped. White's king is in the center. Black controls the center. Surprisingly, black has a better development. And after b6, Stockfish played queen e7 and managed to survive. I tried to understand the difference. It was too difficult. Stockfish played queen e7 and survived. I think in most of the lines d4 was not possible because e4 came with a check, but this is just me. I'm not so sure. So this is like chess beyond my understanding. So I would get to a point where it is within my understanding. So black needs to take back that knight. But LcZero is not in a hurry to do that, which is amazing in my view. h5, this is like no human would play it like this. So I'm gonna run my Stockfish for a second to show you an interesting moment that if you were watching live transmission, you would have missed, I'm guessing. T6 to use a high endgame temp in positions where only one side can blunder. This will heavily overestimate the side which cannot blunder. I see 1.7 is around 58%. Thank you, Ivory. Okay. So bishop goes to a6, which is like weird. So it wants to take with the king the knight or just ignore it. And now it goes h4, h3, e4. Check this one out. This is my current Stockfish. So Stockfish at huge depths played castle, and my Stockfish gives +4, de4 is a win. I wonder, would it see what's going on or not? It says no, castle is not good, it's 1.5, which is exactly the evaluation Stockfish was providing when it was beating LcZero in this game. It was giving only 1.5. So, but I can see +4. What is going on? We can wait a little longer while I'll check whether I didn't mislead you with that evaluation. Let me see. 1.6. This is the evaluation of Stockfish at depths like way over 40. 39, 40, 36. And with it also depends on the speed. So it's not depths, only depths that counts. It's also the machine that is being run on. All right. So who's right? My weak stockfish or that strong stockfish? My weak stockfish is wrong, but at first I couldn't understand why. So it says DE4 is a win. DE4 is a win. So what did Lila have in mind? Did it have... Oh, it's also saying knight e5 now. Knight e4 is the move, and now it was suggesting bishop c2 at first as a big advantage, but now after knight f2, king takes f2, bishop c5 check. The king has no good place to go. It has to go to e1, rook e8. Black gets amazing attack. White is on the edge actually, and black has rook and pawn and bishop and knight down, but the attack is strong and there's no +4 anymore. So knight f2, bishop f5 was something that my stockfish was missing. The same with bishop d5, knight f2. By the way, if I turn it off, it forgets. I'm going to turn it on again. I think it was suggesting bishop d5 after de4. Okay, zero castle would become first given enough time. Oh, sure, I know. So it was giving de5, knight e5, let me see, de4, knight e4. It gives bishop d5. So this is how misleading your analysis could be if you're using... I don't have a weak stockfish, I have a decent stockfish. And it was giving bishop to d5 as a win. You would say, this is crushing. But no, knight f2, king f2, bishop c5, and now white has to be accurate to not lose. So this is a moment you may have missed based on the evaluation of stockfish on the powerful computer. So this is how strong LcZero actually is. Instead of going for the knight, it goes and does this one. So this is again beyond my understanding. So black did take the pawn and the knight, but white activated the rook and the queen. So now both our rooks are in the game. The queen is in the game. The bishop is joining. b5, knight c6, white takes back the pawn. This is beyond my understanding. Knight to c6 using tricks, rook a7 is coming, bishop b5, knight being centralized again. Now white is attacking and eventually stockfish won. This is not human chess. I cannot really understand this one. This is really, really difficult. So what I understand is the endgame. The endgame I can understand. White takes the pawn. And it looks that black has good compensation, but the pawn on f3 is immune, rook f3, rook c6, so white slowly improves the position. Rook b4, weird. Now rooks are being doubled at some point, hold on a second. Finally the rooks are being doubled, and white's gonna push rook to e5. And here what is very funny, that's where stockfish is much better. So here stockfish was still not giving a huge advantage to white. It is trying to convert the advantage, but this is not easy because I know Stockfish already gave +5 here. My apologies. Depth 44, it calculated till the very end. And Lila understood that it's in trouble only late when white won the pawn, started pushing it, and it's just impossible to stop that pawn. And now a nice black would run out of moves. If bishop moves, king goes to f3. If king moves, the pawn goes to h7. This is like a Zugzwang, quite as simply waiting. A triangulation by Stockfish. Great example, by the way. White also need to make moves, right? If you move the rook here, the king approaches. If you move, no, this is not good. If you move the rook backwards, the king goes to f7. So white needs to pass the move to black. And what is usually the case? Usually it's referring to pawn endgames, but this is a great example of triangulation by Stockfish. All right, nice. Do you prepare with this machine you use now? If so, you can fall for this. No, I will not fall for this because I would use my brain and I would ask questions like what happens if knight takes f2, and once I put it, Stockfish would say, oh yes, you were right. So I use this one occasionally, but if I need like really a good analysis, I rent engines at Chess Cloud. According to Stockfish, Lila had a move which gave 2.5 in the recent game but didn't play, and now it's 0.5. Really? Yeah, I do not know. We'll circle back to that game, although this stream is way longer than I expected. We'll see. So a nice triangulation. White needs to pass the move, and that's what white is doing. d4, now rook d4 because the bishop is undefended. Now triangulating could be difficult. could be difficult because pawns would start pushing, but now white can... Okay, this is ridiculous. Mate on the board. So white converted the advantage very well, and Stockfish took the lead. And now it was time for LcZero to show the understanding of closed positions. Benoni was here. Stockfish, Lila managed to survive with black, and Lila chose knight to a6 variation, if I recall correctly, and survived. Because it's not really closed position, but this is not open position either. So here, this move actually shocked me a little bit. h3, if I'm gonna use online database, 0 games. Move 10 novelty by LcZero. Usually if they go knight bd7, they start with rook e8 first, and now h3 does not make that much sense. So the point of h3 is knight e5 would be met with f4, and that knight is kicked away. So black has to change plans. White slowly, what is LcZero is really good at is preventing any counterplay. So black has no counterplay. White is slowly improving its position. a4, stopping b5, improving the knight, getting some space, moving the king away. Sorry, I apologize. Knight to f6, bishop to f3. With every move, white is improving the position. Black is desperate. Black wants to take a poisoned pawn. Any Benoni player knows that that pawn is poisoned, especially if this diagonal could get open. If there was like extra pawn on c4 and that knight was someplace else, that wouldn't be that bad. But white would eventually move the knight away, push the pawn, diagonal opens up. Now rook is being improved. King g1, I don't understand. Move maybe knight g4 was in the air. Rook goes to e3, and now a5. So it's not very clear why Stockfish suddenly gives up this pawn. The problem is that if black does nothing, white would play move bishop to b2, white would play a5, white would triple pieces down the e-file, and this knight on e4 would not survive of this pressure, knight, bishop here, bishop here, and g4 on the table. By the way, I wouldn't be surprised if white's winning plan after a5 would be bishop b2, and then moves the pieces away and moves the king to a1, which would be a safe place, and then push g4. So white can do anything here. Black has 0 counterplay. White is strategically winning here. So it tries a dynamic factor, queen d8, pinning the knight. So white has to unpin, and black has time to push h4 to stop any g4, and now king h7, and it tries desperately counterplay with g5. If black didn't do this g5, by the way, again, my weak Stockfish says g5 is a mistake, but in a bad position, all moves are bad. It says, no, queen h6, you should hold. Yeah, this is my engine cannot run that fast as usual because I'm streaming. So queen h6, and I think now rook e6 is winning. Rook e6, very typical sacrifice. Rook to e7, I don't know, knight d5, and you cannot take because takes and a6. This is just a win, and if you take, this is just domination. The b7 is gonna fall. Black is completely lost. So Stockfish desperately tries counterplay, but white's pieces just walk into black's position, which is usually the case when LcZero is playing closed positions. And we have same number of pieces, but if you look at every single piece, you would see that white has significant advantage. And now, so this still makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense, rook f1 makes sense, rook f5 makes sense. All these moves are logical from human point of view. Actually, white needed to go to e6, but all right. Rook to e5, that's exactly where it's going. King to h2, knight here, rook g4, bishop g4, and now rook e5, bishop to here. Come on, it's time to take that pawn. It took the pawn, and it was converted in the most weirdest way again. King goes, where's the king going? Just push the pawn. Okay, finally the king came in and Stockfish resigned. So, brilliant masterpiece by LcZero. Suffocated black, black tried to escape and failed because white was dominating strategically. All right. One more win from LcZero, French. So they were asked to play this position, and so Stockfish played queen g4 against LcZero, and LcZero retreated the bishop and managed to survive because it's better in close positions. With colors reversed, it just played h4, bishop f8, which would never happen in human games. Black never really cherishes that bishop. Black goes queen d7, followed by bishop a6, although that is arguably an improvement. So I think LcZero wins all the games against Stockfish in any closed range. So white slowly closes the position, improves the knight. Even though black succeeded exchanging a bad bishop, white is strategically basically winning because of the space on the king side. And so white improving the position, improving the bishop, improving the rook, improving another rook. Well, repeating, knight due to d3, forcing c4, closing the queen side. So I doubt this a4 move. From human point of view, black should push like c4, b5, but because of this bishop on e3, it's really difficult, and taking is not a good idea because opening the c file for white, black could never castle, and white would penetrate from both sides of the board. So let's see. So we're getting to the final game of for tonight. Why Stockfish? Why? So let me show you the moment that I put on my Facebook page. So white is completely dominating. Black, the only possible counterplay is f6. White meets it with f4. There was a game where in some games black tried to push this one, but there's no way black can hold this one. This let's say after at some point takes, this knight would appear on e3, putting enormous pressure on these two pawns, tripling on the g file, rook goes to g6, that would decide eventually the game. So Stockfish tries f6, knight goes to g6, and that's it. Black has zero counterplay, and white takes its precious time and wastes it on lots of moves. So, for example, here, this is actually... Okay, I'm gonna move... Okay. For a second, I thought that LcZero cannot find a way to improve the position. But, so you cannot penetrate through f-file, at least easily. So the only way to make progress is to push g5. So that's white's plan. Push g5 in this position. You just have to prepare. White needs to prepare, push g5, and black should collapse eventually, because h6 or g7 would be more reachable. But it just... bishops got exchanged. LcZero decided to exchange a bad bishop. Black couldn't say no because bishop on h4 becomes very strong. And now it's just doing this. Okay, finally it pushed g5. And here's the moment. And now it's doing nothing again. Okay, knight on e3 has not much to do anymore. White is doing nothing, nothing, nothing. So if you were looking at this game, it seems that Stockfish... So white is just shuffling, and now finally Stockfish goes b4. It looks nonsense. It looks nonsensical. Nevertheless, it's the best move according to Stockfish. So why is that? I'm gonna run my Stockfish. I'll give it a little bit of time, and it would start preferring b4, although this is completely lost for black. So black pushed b4, white just moved the knight to c3, the pawn on a4 became weak, so lots of weaknesses, e6, g7, a4, and white is one pawn up. So nothing to discuss here. So why on earth did black push b4? So my answer to that is with a counter question. My counter question is as follows. I'm gonna go to this position somewhere here. Let's say here. So up until this moment it made sense, and now rook a7. I think here knight f7 simply wins. Knight f7. Knight f7. So this is Stockfish on every single move, when possible, was suggesting knight f7, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. You need to penetrate. So if black takes, white takes, that's it. Black takes, I take, g7 falls. If doesn't take, queen d8, there's just one check on g5, we can handle that. e6 is hanging, g7 is hanging. And if black doesn't take, the knight comes to d6 and black would collapse instantly here. So the question isn't why Stockfish played b4, is why on earth LcZero wouldn't play this move on every move here. It was also knight f7, I think. Let's see, knight f7. Yeah, again, knight f7 was improving the position and winning. And Stockfish was always suggesting this one, but nevertheless LcZero was not doing it. It would find it eventually, I'm guessing. It's Mark is saying it seems that TCEC conditions force the engines to play badly for entertainment. I'm not sure what do you mean by that. What kind of conditions? So the question is, why didn't it play knight f7? So when I ran Stockfish here, it says, yeah, white's gonna play queen f4 and knight f7. I need to do something, and doing something means going b4, because if c takes b4, pawn on d4 would need protection. At very high depths, it was suggesting weird move b4, and it did play it and eventually lost. So that's a masterpiece by LcZero. Maybe there are 50 unnecessary moves in this game for white, and I'm not gonna address the conversion of the advantage. It's usually weird. Avoiding draws. I'm not sure if that's a TCEC rule, because LcZero was losing in a similar fashion to Stockfish, pushing too hard. Which what a human being would do. Neural networks are try to work as human brains. How our brain works that way. We push too hard for a win. So that is the case, and that was the masterpiece. With every move it was improving the position, and if it didn't play b4, LcZero eventually would approaching move 50 would go knight f7 and would win the game. So it took LcZero way too long in my view. So instead of repeating the position, why would you go rook f2? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So finally king went to safe place. Again, shuffling kings, moving the knights around. Stockfish would have converted this one like 50 moves faster, but white is dominating. White is completely winning, and white won eventually. So that is it. These are the, so far, how many games? Let me see. I think 6. 6 is the number of decisive games. One of them is completely LcZero's fault that it lost. Can you comment on the current TCEC game? All right, hold on a second. I need to, can I download it? It's really hard. It's move 60. They are going back and forth. I can just, let me see. I should be able to download the PGN. Come on, it's not rocket science, but I don't know how to upload the PGN of current game. Maybe you can help me with that. Then I would briefly address the game in progress. But it wouldn't be that much fun for people watching it on YouTube. It seems to me that LcZero lost part of its advantage. They were forced to play the Budapest Gambit, and in both games white was pressing the whole game. Stockfish was pressing, but LcZero survived, and now LcZero is pressing, but it seems to me that Stockfish would hold. I'm not sure how to add the PGN of a current game. I do not see it off the top of my head. Do I just copy? Hold on, I'm trying physically copying the text. Let me see. I'm just copy the text. Let's see if that works. Oh yeah, okay. That's how I can do it. All right. Okay, I will address it. Yeah. So this is the current game, and this is the position they were asked to play, and they both chose f4, and white. I was sure that LcZero is gonna win this one. White has space. This is a positional play, not open dynamic play, because white dominates in the center. If LcZero dominates the center, usually it's a one-way street. So there was some very weird decision, like rook g2. This is the weirdest move ever, rook g2. So the idea is king wants to go to g1 eventually, and rook g3 runs into a pin, of course, but still rook g2 looks very weird. Human way is to just go to h1. That apparently this is not something Lila wanted to do. With every move, white brings the piece. Knight goes to d5. I wouldn't give up this bishop, but maybe there was no choice. And white is just pressing, and here Lila decided to go for capturing the queen. And here they disagreed on the evaluation, by the way. They disagreed, almost a full pawn disagreement. So Stockfish was giving 0.5 and 0.4 and 1.4 from Lila. 1.4 is a much better evaluation. White is pressing risk-free. I think the winning plan for white could be just putting the bishop to e6 and then running with the king to b5. That seems like a reasonable way to go. C file is controlled by white. So here what I would do, I would try to move the king to b5, but black, so for example now, I would move the king somewhere. And where was the moment where Stockfish was giving 2.5 that you were mentioning? Top menu download. Okay, I just selected all moves and copied it to PGM. Move 53. When mistake happened, really? Let's see. Move 53. Rook to a7. King e7. So Stockfish was expecting king g4 and king h5. The king, it was expecting 53. So here, Stockfish was calculating, already giving 2.5, admitting that 0.4 is the wrong evaluation for this position, right? Because Stockfish cannot think strategically, like I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. It calculates. And it's really hard to reach depth 100 to calculate 50 moves ahead, right? But schematically speaking, the king can just go. I was thinking going to b5, but it seems that king g4, rook a7, king h5. This is what Stockfish was suggesting. Wait a second. So this is like enormous depths. This is depths 61. I would never reach that one. So, and it was expecting bishop. Wait a second. It's LcZero. King g4, 53, king g4, and then moving the king to h5. Yeah, I'm guessing Stockfish calculated far enough, but for me it was obvious that you cannot win without the king, and the king has to go either here or maybe there or here. So white needs to move the king somewhere, but LcZero takes its time because indeed h5, that looks like a very risky decision to me. That can backfire to Stockfish. That can really backfire at some point in the future. You're not so, again, zeros from Stockfish, but the f pawns got exchanged. How did that happen? Okay. Yeah, okay. LcZero exchanged this pawn for this one. Yeah, it seems to me that a draw would happen soon. So Stockfish managed to survive in this one as well. So this is how. Yeah, this is how the game went. Black pushed g5 and opened some files for the rooks, and now it would be a draw. Although Lila still gives +1 for white, but this is, for me, it's relatively obvious that it's a fortress-like position for black and lots of open files. All right, so far they have a tie, which makes it more interesting to watch. They're playing multiple games every day. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep up everyday schedule. I hope you like the stream. Please like the stream, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell, comment, tell your friends, check the description. I don't see, hello folks, hello Joshua. Now 0.00, but it was giving zeros earlier, so it can change again. But hold on, I think LcZero is approaching time trouble. Oh my goodness, it has 1 minute. It can lose another game. That would, okay, if it loses this one, this is crazy. This is crazy. They have, I think they have 5-second increment, which is way too little, and that's how it lost that game. It was in time trouble and it blundered. And now it is approaching time trouble and again keeps playing for a win. So maybe if this is how Stockfish wins the match, then what you gonna do? All right, Mark, thank you too. Maybe LcZero will overpush again. And advise how to use Fritz in a proper way. I have no clue, never used it. It's just a bad engine. Stockfish is way better. Because seeing so many tabs and features distract the user. From your point of view, what are the basic features for preparation and playing? Oh, that's way too many questions. Tune in to my next stream and I would address those, and please ask them again. Do not Fritz unless you're meaning interface, because Fritz engine is just a bad one. Stockfish is better. I never used Fritz interface, so I have no opinion on that one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching again. Blunder on increment wasn't because of time trouble. Yeah, but rook takes e6, rook h2. That's a blunder. That's a horrible move. Maybe you didn't see that rook takes e6 leads to a draw. All right. We'll just misspell the position. Searching for a few more million notes didn't help either. Yeah, I'm no expert in the technical names, but I see LcZero losing in time trouble with a blunder. I call it a blunder, and you shouldn't play for a win. Fritz interface, sorry, never used it. Fat Fritz is LcZero. Next stream, thank you. Tune in next time. I'll probably that would be tomorrow. All right, take care. Thank you for watching. All right. Take care, subscribe, tell your friends, like the video, click on the bell, check the description. I made a nice course on tactics. If you want to become a better player, you feel free to check free previews. Thank you. Goodbye.